A couple of areas that I want to show you is I want to show you the compliance section. And this compliance section is really how we take all the visibility that we've aggregated and modeled across your environment and apply it to some of the different compliance standards. Okay, so in this particular case, right now we have CIS, AWS Well Architected, PCI DSS, NIST 853. Okay, and what that really means is I can expose all of this data on a per account basis. I can also aggregate this data. This data is also simply an extension of the reporting capabilities, right? I can schedule this data as PDF reports. So if you want to receive this as PDFs weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, however you want to receive it, you can do that. Within the platform itself, this compliance module, again, takes your data, maps it against these compliance standards, and gives you the results. Within this platform, if you look at the different L1, L2 failures, I'll scroll through this a little bit slowly, right? But not only do we give you that visibility into some of these issues, right? And just note that we'll cover all the different sections as it relates to the benchmarking standards, right? It's not just about identity. There's networking, there's monitoring, there's logging. Okay, if I click on any of these, okay, what I'm going to show you here is, if there's a relevant identity type or resource type, we're going to identify that. We're going to tell you, okay, these are the failures. These are the resources that failed. Okay, if you want to remediate here, right, in this particular case, well, you can download a script and you can go ahead and you can fix this. So within the CloudKnox admin console itself, this is very dynamic and interactive. You can schedule these as reports, but if you want to actually invoke some of the remediation functions, you can do that right through the console, right? There's also a descriptions tab here if you want to further understand the implications around some of these failures or compliance standards in general. You can reference the description tab. That'll have the knowledge base article and full details around all the implications around a particular compliance issue. So that's the compliance section where we roll up all that data concisely. We also can do that within the different reporting frameworks as well. So for example, I want to show you the permissions analytics report and also talk to you a little bit about our risk assessment process. So we talked about the architecture, the deployment architecture within the platform. Okay, so what we always want to drive the conversations towards is really being able to provide an organization visibility with their data. Okay, so when we go through this risk assessment process, one of the things that we want to do is offer to organizations free of charge the ability to, put that Sentry, that EC2 instance into their environment, right? Aggregate that data and provide them with some easy to read, leave behind reports that are going to identify any blind spots, recommendations, implications of any issues that we've seen specific to their data. This particular report I have up on my screen really just is a high level of some of the findings that we always roll up in customers' organizations' environments. Okay, so there's different sections, if you look at my left-hand margin, where we'll find, we'll identify, okay, what does your environment look like specific to inactivity? What's the implications of inactive roles, right? How prevalent are they in your environment? We'll identify that. We'll make recommendations. So as I scroll through these, right, we'll identify super identities, those identities that have the equivalent of root access within your environment. We'll identify privilege escalation. Again, that's critical because you might have identities that have very few permissions. But if amongst those few permissions, they have a permission that allows them to self-elevate their permissions, that needs to be called out, alerted on, reported on, etc. Right? We'll also talk about all the different hygiene requirements, S3 bucket, encryption, open security groups, as well as some of the more critical elements that we've seen in the press over the last 12, 18 months. Right? What does your EC2 S3 bucket exposure look like? Are they externally accessible? Right? We provide you full details around your cross-account exposure in your environment, okay? And we roll all of this up concisely when we're given that opportunity, right, to aggregate and model the data specific to your environment. And one thing I should say is when we're given this opportunity, okay, it takes about 30 minutes to put that collector in place, to aggregate all that data, And it's a very quick and easy process to aggregate, model the data, and leave behind a very intuitive report with a summary of all the interesting findings, as well as the implications and remediation.